Okay guys, so this is the slope practice assignment. Everybody should have a piece of graph paper. You will be using that piece of graph paper to graph all of these lines. So graph all the following on your piece of paper. Watch the video for help on the first few. So I think I'm going to do like 4. Make sure to label all of your graphs with letters so that I know which characteristics go with which graphs. So you're making just a simple line graph of all of these examples. So I know it seems kind of like a daunting amount, A through R, but once you get this down, the process is actually really fast, and I'm doing the first 4 with you. So the first thing you need to do is go through on your graph and label all of your graphs with letters. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Go through. I'm only doing 4, but I can kind of show you what I'm meaning. I would just go through to the graph and be like, okay, this is graph A. Okay, this is graph B, and you need to put that on all of your graphs. Okay, so that I know when I look at graph A, that matches with the characteristics that are labeled A. If I go through and I look at graph B, I know that that's the characteristics. Does that make sense? So like graph A is going to be the graph that has a y-intercept of 0, 2 and a slope of 2/3. Graph B is going to be the one that has a y-intercept of 0, 4 and a slope of negative 1/4. Graph C is going to be the one with a y-intercept of negative 1 and a slope of 2, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. If not, here's 4 examples. Okay, so the process you're going to go through on this is you're going to be like, okay, what's my y-intercept for this graph? And you're going to put it on there. And then you're going to put another point on there so that the slope is what you want. Okay, so if we kind of imagine, let's look just at A for a second. I have a y-intercept of 0, 2 and a slope of 2/3, meaning overall it's positive, right? So that means my slope's going to go up as I go to the right. And then if I have the fraction 2/3, I have my rise of 2 and my run of 3. Okay, so think back to what we did before. First, we're going to go through and we're going to do the y-intercept. So I'm going to go through my y-intercept is 0, 2. So I'm going to go to graph A on my little piece of paper. My y-intercept is 0, 2. You don't necessarily need to rewrite these. Okay, so on my y-axis, so this axis up and down, okay, I go left, right, 0, up 2. So there's my y-intercept. And then remember, I need a slope of 2/3. So my slope is positive 2/3. Okay, so I'm going to be going up 2 units, so from 2 to 4, and then right 3 units. And that's going to be my new ordered pair. Okay, so I can see that to get from the y-intercept 0, 2 to my new point, I went up 2, right 3, which was positive. Okay, and then I am going to go ahead and connect these with a line and put arrows on the ends. The whole point of slope is we are measuring how a line is changing. We're measuring how a line is either really steep or not so steep, if it's positive or negative. So we have to combine those into a line at the end. And that's all you're doing. You're doing this over and over and over. Put a y-intercept, put a slope. Put a y-intercept, put a slope. Okay, so that's the first example. Then I'm going to go through and literally just say, okay, I already did A. Cool. B. I need a y-intercept of 0, 4. Y-intercept of 0, 4. I need a slope of negative 1/4. So again, what's that mean? Well, negative slope means it's going down as I go to the right. Okay, so that's important. And then 1/4 means I'm rising, or I'm going up and down 1. I'm going left and right 4. So rise is 1, run is 4. Okay, so if I kind of go back to this graph, I'm like, okay, my y-intercept is 0, 4. So let's put that on the graph first. My y-intercept is 0, 4. So on my y-axis, which is the up and down axis, I'm going to go up to 4 because I went left, right, 0, up 4. And then remember my slope, which I think I was doing in purple. Yep, my slope has to overall be negative, so it's going to go down, and it has to be a rise of 1, a run of 4. Okay, so overall I need to go up and down 1, but since it's negative, let's go down 1. And then my run is 4. And then you just want to check and be like, okay, well, if I put a point here, which had a rise of 1 and a run of 4, did it overall give me that negative shape? And the answer is yes, it did. Okay, so that's perfect. That's what I needed. So I'm going to connect those with the line and put arrows at the ends. Now, here's the thing. Say that you forgot it had to be negative and maybe you went up one right 4. You would see that your overall shape's positive and you're going to have to kind of go back to the drawing board. Okay, so this is what your picture should have looked like. And again, the slope on this one was -1/4. So you don't have to write in the y-intercept and the slope on every single one. You can kind of leave them on your sheet. But you do need to make sure you are putting the right characteristics on the right graph. Because obviously I gave you kind of a generic piece of graph paper. And again, you can put them however you want. Just make sure that you labeled the graphs so that I can tell kind of how you were thinking. And then you're like, okay, did B. So for C, a y-intercept of 0, -1, and a slope of 2. So again, let's kind of break this down a little bit. A y-intercept of 0, -1 on my y-axis, I will go down 1 unit. And then my slope is 2. Now here's the hard thing about slope. I can tell if that's positive or negative, so it's +2, so it's going to go up as I go to the right. But this is not a fraction, and if it's not a fraction, it's actually harder to graph the slope than if it is a fraction. So what we want to do is we want to take 2 and say, well, what would 2 be as a fraction? Well, any number you can write over 1, and that means it's the exact same value. So 2 and 2 over 1 are basically the exact same thing. And then that gives me an idea. My rise is 2, my run is 1. My rise is 2, my run is 1. Okay, so sometimes you're going to have to convert that to a fraction so that you can see exactly how you would graph it. So my y-intercept is 0, -1. I can put that on my graph. Again, I'm on C. So 0, -1. And then I need a rise of 2, a run of 1 with an overall positive shape. So I'm going to go up 2 units, right 1 unit, which is going to get me this ordered pair right here. And then I just have to make sure that my rise and run are correct and that overall my shape is positive. And when I draw that line in, I can see that yes, as I go to the right, I go up. So that is the correct slope, arrows on the ends, and I am done with example C. So that's all you're doing. You're just repeating this process over and over. And the idea is that when you're really fast at the y-intercept and you're really fast at the slope, you can do these super quickly. Also, keep in mind, if you're awesome at this now, we are actually just about to start our lines unit in Math 8. So if you have this down, you're going to be way ahead on the unit that we are about to start. All right, the last example I'm doing is D. So I have a y-intercept of 0, -3, and a slope of undefined. Keep in mind, guys, we did two different like special slopes, and I'll write them up here just if you forgot. Undefined slope is when you have a line that goes straight up and down, and 0 slope is when you have a line that goes straight left and right. Okay, so undefined is a vertical line, a 0 slope is horizontal. Okay, so when I go and I say, okay, I want an undefined slope, my y-intercept's 0, -3. So on my graph, on graph D, I have 0, -3. So that's down 3 units on the y-intercept, or on the y-axis to get my y-intercept. And then I have a line that has an undefined slope. So I actually don't really need to draw any other points. I just need a vertical line, so a line that goes straight up and down, and it has to go through my y-intercept. So that line's actually the exact same as the y-axis. So it's just going to go on top of that y-axis. That gives me a vertical line with a y-intercept of 0, -3. So go through and try your best to do the rest of these. There's a good chunk of them left, but some of you are going to race through this and others are going to need to take some more time. If you need to work quietly with somebody sitting near you just for a little assistance, go for that. But this is due at the end of the hour, so you do need to stay focused so that you can get it complete. If you are having extra time at the end of the hour, there's a Delta Math assignment that is the coordinate review assignment, coordinate practice review or something like that you can work on. And then there is an exit slip at the end of the hour. So good luck. Thank you.